On today's episode, we talk about the art and lore of the newly updated Urgot. Or should I say... Urgot was a man. Yeah. He was a robot man. Or maybe he was a dude who almost died and became a robot man. But he was still... Shotgun knee in your badminton lane. Stomach meat grinding your carries. One arm suplexing everyone, cause he's... And the Urgot chases you with robot spider legs! And we also talk about Kayn.
Welcome to the Trinity Force Podcast. Yo, it's that Triforce cast beaming straight to your home. Grab a beer so we know Pony drinking alone. Send an email, a quick tweet, just pick up the phone. Leave a message, hit the beep if you're a creep, watch your tone. Discuss the meta game, patch notes, whatever helps your stats most. Obi-Pon Kenobi is your last hope to snatch gold. So grab your headphones and join in the fun. We'll try and force in some jokes and some cringeworthy puns. Yo, we can make it together, people. Trinity Force Podcast. These boys are second to none. But that's the end of the intro. It's time we begun.
Hey guys, welcome to Trinity Force Podcast. My name is Adam Ponophobia Cogswell, episode 457. In your ears, Punch, Mitch, and Skyen are joining us this week. Hello, everybody.
We're all here.
Hello.
So
We're here to talk about things.
Yes, Skyen with us can only mean one thing. We are going to talk about Urgot and Kayn.
Damn it.
No jokes. We are running behind.
No jokes?
What jokes?
No.
This is a
I quit.
serious show.
Mutiny.
What's with all the mutiny toss?
Anarchy.
Put lots of it. Motiny.
That was pretty good.
Oh, they like two people understand that joke. So yes, so with Skyen being with us this week, it means we are going to talk about Urgot and Kayn, the splash art and lore direction, and I guess just general model design and whatnot, as we normally do. We're not going to get into their abilities so much this week, as we have two champions to talk about, which is kind of new for us. But we did want to bring Skyen on to discuss that, because I know he has a lot to talk about, as he said about a week ago. We were supposed to have him on, and I apologize, Skyen, for the delay, but now is better than never.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I said better. I thought I said something else.
I mean, yeah. Riot pretty much decided to double champion releases, so it was always going to be a little cramped.
It worked well for the birds, so they're like, hey, let's release two more champions back to back.
Yeah.
That's all right. We all have been anticipating Urgot for a while, so he'll be a lot of fun to talk about this evening. Just one quick thing for anybody listening to Podcast Land, the LCS Rundown is looking for people to talk about the LCS. Send an email to lcs at trinityforcepodcast.com with an MP3 talking about why you want to be on the podcast and what you think about the scene. There's more information on the subreddit, T-Force Network. You can also go to trinityforcenetwork.com and click on the link up top. That will take you right to our subreddit with more information as well. So please go check that out, trinityforcenetwork.com. If you want to be part of the LCS Rundown, we are looking for you. So we are now talking about Urgot. I guess we're going to start rolling the ball on that one tonight. The Dreadnought. And do we want to start with art or lore?
I can go either way. I mean, his splash art is one of the more interesting ones that Riot has released recently. At least as far as I'm concerned.
It looks so good with all the skins, too. Holy shit, that crab one. Went from being a total joke to being maybe one of the best. I'm sad. I think it's the only skin I don't have for him, and so I'm really sad that I don't have it now.
Let's do it. Yeah. Let's talk about art direction. Skyen, the floor is yours.
Yeah. So if you look at the updated Urgot splash art, and I hope you all are, there's a couple of interesting things going on here in terms of the composition. Now, when you look at where Urgot's face is in the frame, like what little of it there is very much right up at the top of the screen, covered partially in shadow, hidden behind the mask, very much not the focus of the piece. Neither are the human parts of his body that are being tattooed on by the guy hanging from the crane thing on the side there. The focus of Urgot's splash art is very much his biomechanical hex tech whatever body. That's entirely the visual focus. Like, it occupies about 2/3 or 3/4 actually of the entire splash art. So that's very much what the artist wanted us to focus on as the bulk of the picture. Compositionally, it's kind of interesting to hide the champion away, because if you look at most other champion splash arts, they tend to center the face. Kayn certainly does, and most champion splash arts tend to center the face, center the expression, center the behavior of the character in the splash art, whereas this one is very much about Urgot's body and what's being done to it. And what's being done to it is a lot of welding and magic going on and tattooing, and there's workshop going on. So it's an interesting splash art in that it's one that doesn't actually focus on the person in the splash art, but focuses on all the paraphernalia and the environment that he exists in. And that's, I mean, everything would be an improvement from the old Urgot splash arts. So that's not really a surprise there, but it's also a change of focus for how they're representing Urgot as a character, whereas he just used to be just sort of, he's big fat ugly tech monster thing creature whatever. There wasn't really any direction to him except he's evil and he looks like a rejected Warhammer 40k chaos marine abomination kind of creature. Now there's a clear, there's some sort of narrative going on in the image, like that there's a whole lot of characters going on. There's this guy in the background in the tube drowning, presumably being executed by Urgot for something. He has servants, he has people around him, so the narrative focus has shifted very much from Urgot as just a monster to Urgot as some sort of force, some sort of controlling force for whatever group it is that he's being worked on at this point. Like, he's much more appears like a gang boss than just, I'm evil and I shoot you with thing. So there's a lot of interesting things going on in the way that they've shifted Urgot from being just the ugly monster guy to a character, to something more substantial.
And even though this is a huge shift, I was kind of surprised and impressed that they kept basically the same exact theme. Urgot has always been about, a semi-human with these mechanical, with a mechanical arsenal, like half human, half robot kind of guy. But like you said before, he really didn't have, he was just kind of like a blob before. Just an evil blob dude with robot legs. Whereas now he's got this direction. He like you said, there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of story going on in the splash art alone. But at the same time, he's still what he was before, essentially. The same theme, but it's just a whole ton better. And I wish I could find better words to describe what I'm talking about here. But it's hard to say it without actually looking at the two arts back to back. They're entirely different.
Did a really
but the
good
same.
job, Punch, with this one of taking the mechanical piece of Urgot, or like Skyen said, the piece that we should all be focusing on, and getting away from the I use whatever is flowing through my veins, to more before he had the Noxus, his E that had the corroding, whatever the fuck it's called. I can't think of the name of it right now.
Corrosive charge.
Corrosive charge. Thank you. And obviously he's got whatever corrosive crap is flowing through his body right now, powering his machine, much like Singed, for example, has the potion of madness and everything flying through his veins. And I like that they've gotten that even with the in-game models, they got away from him using whatever is powering him to do damage, and instead it just is empowering all his abilities and allowing him a fuel to be destructive.
Yeah, it's a wider arsenal now. He's got a bunch of different tools he had tools before, but he didn't really use them to the full extent that it appears like he's doing now in this new kit.
Yeah, so I'm not usually one to care too much about art direction, but this one specifically, I now that I look back, because I was thinking about this just a couple minutes ago. Urgot before, you could have put those abilities on any champion and just said, well, that's just because they are. And now they've switched Urgot to like even his shotgun knees that became like a big meme. Like you can see that visibly here. You know that does something in game. All of his things do something that makes sense from his like new character development, as opposed to just being like, well, we wanted somebody who could shoot and lock onto stuff, so I guess that's what we made him, because that was early in our season 1 direction we wanted to take. And I as an old Urgot player really like this like a lot, because it just seemed like everything of his was such a throwaway, and they went out of their way to make this person just fucking monstrous and so scary in every way, game and in lore and in art.
Yeah. I mean, old Urgot had that sword arm that was just, it was just a sword arm. He didn't use it for any of his abilities. It wasn't his auto attack. It was a nothing thing. And he had all those tubes, and he had the hex electric whatever coil things on his back. Like a lot of it was just stuff that's thrown in there because monster. This is what monster looks like, kind of, and there was not a lot of thought or direction put into why does he look like that. Just because like he was a sort of a sack of tropes on spider legs. And very much, if you notice, the old Urgot also was very much focused around being that blob, the big fleshy sack of meat that's kind of on legs. That was very much the essence of the character, whereas new Urgot is much more, yeah, there's some flesh there, but what flesh is there is muscular and scary and could kill you, but mostly he is this spider body. He's mostly the metal body is the thing he's about. He's not about being flesh on legs anymore. He's about being more melded together and not being, I mean, because old Urgot, like, he looked like if you poked him with a needle, he just
right,
like a balloon.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
I like
New
this,
Urgot does not look
I
like
like
you can do that.
I like this combo of Bane with the Wild Wild West spider. For whoever saw that awful movie back in the day, but that's kind of what I'm thinking the combo is, which is ridiculous, but
well, if
good.
you're looking at a peer.in right now,
Wild Wild West would have been a better movie if someone broke Will Smith's back by the end of it. God.
For those of you that are
that would
watching,
create a cycle of him becoming the bad guy who is paraplegic. So I don't know about that.
for those of you that are watching the YouTube VOD and are not in their cars, or even those the hosts right now, you can look on the screen. I've pulled up the Battlecast Urgot skin, for example. And I think this was the direction that, like, the Battlecast Urgot skin is how I would view Urgot forever and always, because they got rid of the fleshy pieces. He's more menacing because he's just this giant lumbering, like, you know, Wild Wild West spider, but still he's scarier in this splash art than he is in his base splash art, because it's not a bag of flesh, it's a mechanical terrorizing monster that is coming toward you. And they've really captured that in the new splash art and the new model in the game, where they have taken the best of every piece of him. They've given him the human aspects. They give him some kind of fuel for his fire with the I don't actually know what's coursing through his veins or what he is sucking in through his
Green
mouth right there.
magic
Text
goobs
something
things.
something.
Yes.
Right. But yeah, they did, and they took everything, they made it great. So I'm really, really impressed with Riot with the Urgot. I don't care if Urgot comes out being trash, just through all of his abilities and the way he walks and the way he looks and everything. I think they hit the nail on the head with this one, and I don't have this is probably the first time I don't have anything bad to say about any piece of this.
Yeah.
I like. Can you pull back up the Battlecast one again, real quick? He he looks like a PS2 enemy. Like, he looks like an enemy from a bad PlayStation 2 game. And now it looks like we've come into the current era of games.
If you notice, he like, even that Battlecast skin or that splash art, it still has the same blob shape with these skinny spider legs. So even that has changed. Where like what Pone was talking about, the overall theme, the overall emphasis in the arsenal, that is carried over to the new Urgot. But even this overall shape has changed, where his legs are beefier now, and he's less of a
He looks more like
soft
a
serve
walking
ice cream
tank
cone.
now.
Yes.
But I mean, and you also have to view the Urgot update in the context of the series of champion updates that they've been doing on other champions. This variety is very much in the process of bringing old legacy champions into line with the new standard of League of Legends champions, so that we don't have champions that like look so ridiculously out of date and ugly. Well, as Urgot did, and as champions like Cho'Gath to a large extent still do. So they're kind of being, also lore-wise, bringing them in line with something that works with the universe they're trying to build right now, rather than the kind of hodgepodge, mashed together nature of old League of Legends.
I'm sorry, but this new lore, unless I missed something, is fucking ridiculous for Urgot.
It wasn't already. I think that
It's-
we can't really...
Well, we don't have much of it, but yeah, there seems to be a flaw or something we just don't understand from the snippet that they gave us.
Got it.
I'm gonna
It's
switch
poorly
over to
written,
lore.
like the blurb they give us. It's not. It's kind of.
Well,
It used
okay.
to be
Before we go, hold on. Before we go to her, I'll give you your floor in a minute, Skyen. The thing that bothers me about this, yes, we only have a blurb. Yes, we don't know a whole backstory like we do with Kayn, with his big long biography. But somebody needs to explain this to me, okay? He is a former Noxian headsman. He then betrayed Swain.
Oh, he's
Again,
betrayed by
Betrayed
Skyen.
by Swain.
He's betrayed by Swain, right? So Swain betrays him, and now he is trapped in the Zon mines as a slave. Presumably a slave of Noxian? Or a slave of Zon?
It was on.
Okay, we'll just assume Zon.
Slave of something.
So he was betrayed. Okay, that would make sense. He's a slave of Zon because he was betrayed by Swain. But now he gets out and he augments his body with machinery and all that other stuff and decides that he wants to get revenge on Zon. Not Noxian, who betrayed him. Not Swain, the leader or the general or head of the Noxian army. He wants to get revenge on Zon, who he is now. Why?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seems like Riot kind of wants him to be a Son champion, but because his history says he comes from Noxus, I mean, I don't know what the hell they're planning to do when he gets a proper lore update and a short story and all kinds of shit to explain exactly what's going on there. But yeah, he's what we have right now is just a bit of a mess. I mean, also the way it's just. He was a Noxian headsman, then he was betrayed by Swain, then he was a slave, now he's not a slave anymore, now he's a big crab mechanical monster, and now apparently he's a leader of something, I don't know. He's got lots of people working for him, clearly. How? We don't, it's... Well, the lore presentation that they came up with here does not answer any questions.
Well, it doesn't do him any favors. This is like if I had a teacher, right? I'm going to use this. We're in school. I had a teacher. The teacher decides to rat on me, and now I'm in detention. And then I get out of detention, and I come back, and now I'm going to get revenge on all the kids that were in detention because the kids got me into detention. The kids, I didn't like the kids that were in detention with me. So instead of going back and getting revenge on this teacher that ratted me or betrayed me or whatever it is, I'm going to go into detention and kill all the detention kids. Like,
Kill the...
why?
What the hell?
Yeah. I'm coming back to school. I'm a white kid. I didn't go there. I'm coming back to school. I got a gun.
Well,
No,
there's
but-
some post work to do.
No, it's all right.
We'll need to read the whole story here when it comes out because there are some discrepancies. Another one being that yes, as we said, he is a leader of some sort. He's preaching to people, but he's preaching that there are no leaders.
Yeah.
So
I think
he's
he's
preaching
like-
against what he's doing.
No, I think he's still in the mines. I think he's still like, imagine being like in jail and he's rallying people around him there. Like I think that's the thing is like in these mines he has become augmented and he's still becoming more augmented, but people are rallying around him because they realize this dude's strong as shit, and going from there. Granted,
Yeah,
we have one paragraph here. You guys are right. There's not a lot to go on here.
There's really nothing to go on at all. I mean, going by his voice lines, his VO, he's kind of being positioned as where Swain is the authoritarian leader of Noxus, like, follow me because I'm the smartest, I'm the best, I'm the strongest. Urgot is like, no rulers, no gods, no kings, only men. Like, he's the libertarian to, I guess, Swain's authoritarian. Kind of, I think they're trying to set up that kind of dichotomy.
That makes more sense.
Certainly, I mean, he knows that Noxus can never truly be ruled by strength while it is ruled at all. So he wants to tear down the high command of Noxus, probably. Certainly Swain. Because he has some ideological convictions about what Noxus is supposed to be. That's as much detail as I can wring out of it. But what that is, or how it conflicts with Swain, we don't know. Swain is coming up after Evelyn on the updates, so maybe his update will make Urgot's update make sense. We don't know.
Well, they're just doing a visual update on him. They're not doing like, well, I guess they are doing a kit. They're doing a whole overhaul. So yeah, I guess he would get new lore with that. But he's the Noxian general, right? Doesn't he lead the Noxian army?
Yeah.
He's some
So
sort
how
of leader.
how does Urgot fit into this ever? How is Urgot part of the Noxian faction, the Noxus faction?
He just was.
He just was. He was
still
a
is,
Noxian
right?
X-Men, and then he wasn't anymore.
He has to be,
betrayed.
unless he's like what is the city that deals fucking, is it Piltover that deals with all the hex tech shit?
Yes.
Yeah,
That
Piltover
opposite
and
of
Zahn
Zahn.
both.
Yeah.
So does that mean he's Piltoverian? I don't know how to fucking
Yeah,
say
I mean,
it.
technically, Zahn is just like the lower levels of Piltover now, so he's a Piltoverian, technically. Just of the lower classes who live in all the chemicals and
So
shit.
he
that-
is part of Piltover, but so he's kind of like down there with like Warwick and whatnot. I would
yeah,
assume
Warwick and Echo
Singed.
and
Singed.
Zack and Twitch.
But okay, help me wrap my head around this lore, because this is where lore gets confusing for me. Maybe it's because it's old and new lore. So is Singed Noxus, but technically Piltoverian because he lives in Piltover?
No, Singed is all Zahn.
Singed is Zahn? I thought Singed was Noxus.
He
No, I
works,
guess
Singed worked for Noxus as a chemist, as a mercenary.
that's it.
I think that's his lore.
Okay. See, this is where I
Everyone
get all
started in
confusing.
Noxus, and then they moved somewhere else.
So pretty much.
I don't know. This is
Yeah,
this is
the
why the
state of
lore. This is
lore
why
is-
I need
is-
a lore cheat sheet. Because I get the game and I really care about it. I only care about it the nights that we're talking about it, to be honest with you. But it
Yeah, I
interests
mean,
me.
Riot
it
hasn't given
interests me.
anyone reason to care about it that much, unfortunately.
Jesus. So let's talk about the in-game model. I have it on screen. You guys will be able to see it. Sort of. The GIF does not load too well over a period in.
Cool. Yeah, it doesn't.
But you can still see the overall shape of his in-game model. I'm leaving the floor open to who wants to take it.
Holy shit! Scrolling over to the crab got one looks so good. Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
It's like he's like on top. He's like way further up. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, Crab God looks fantastic now, where he used to be just a meme on legs. But yeah,
oh,
I
he's,
mean,
he's pulling a crab out, and then he pulled a crab out of himself. Oh, that's adorable. I guess.
Comparing the, I mean, looking at Crabgot and I guess the humanoid skins as well to the robot skin, just his idle animation is different. You know, he's totally rigid in the robot one, and whenever he does a motion, it's robotic, of course, as it should be. So I'm just kind of surprised. I haven't noticed anything that subtle before with other skins. Maybe just because it's subtle and I haven't looked at them that closely. But I'm
I
impressed.
think Crab God got a few new animations to kind of go with his theme, and then Battlecast because it's, what is it, a legendary skin?
No,
And
No, I
that
think
has a
it's-
full set of new
Yeah, I
animations.
think it's
It's
not the
975.
highest tier, but
No.
It's not a 1320 skin or anything. Riot actually, for those of you who may have missed it, I saw a red post. I think it may have been on the forums, might have even been on Reddit, where they said they need to go back over it and look at their definition of skin prices, because they're not following what they previously put out, maybe in 2015 or something, where they said, you know, this tier of skin is going to have these effects, because there's been not like this one right here, Crab Got. This is a 975 skin, and it looks just as good as some of those 1350 skins.
Yeah.
With a specific, you know, has an idle animation, has specific. He's got probably a custom back animation and everything. Like,
I think it's the Riot financial department being deeply frustrated by the artists at Riot who just do whatever the fuck they want.
which,
So
whatever.
looking at the actual, like, just the normal skin, because that's the one that's going to be easiest to kind of figure out thematically in terms of like the abilities. I do like that they've got like a very clear like now the machine gun system going on in his W, like you can see what's kind of like a rotating gun that'll just be firing stuff out on his right arm, and then behind him you have the chain, the reeling in chain that's going to go on his ultimate, which both of those things are really cool, in addition to obviously the knees that everyone's been talking about. But like, I like that both of those are very clearly visible, and they said, let's figure out how to put this into the model and make it look good, because it looks like, if you see that chain and you know what his ultimate does, you're like, shit, I don't want to get hit. I don't want to ever get pulled in by that, because I'll have nightmares from an over the top, like a top down game instead of like a first person one getting reeled in and executed.
Yeah, and they do something interesting with color as well. If you notice, like, Urgot's tubes and like most of the places where green shows up on most of his model, it's a bright or a muted green, whereas on his knees, when the shotguns are active, it's a very, very bright yellowish clear green, so it distinguishes itself from the rest of the model, which is going to be really important for making the passive readable. Like, you're going to need to know when his knees are going to shoot shotguns at you.
I understand what you're saying about that passive, because that lighter green color that you're talking about, it's like the same color as the if you notice in the GIF animation. Oh my god, GIF animation.
Did you just really say GIF?
Excuse me.
Where's my kick button? Where's the fucking kick button?
You can see the fire coming out of his legs, which is that same color, and it should be, from what I can see in the screenshot, the same color as the shotgun blast in his passive. Again, to make it more visually distinguishable.
Yeah. Which is the kind of thing that you, again, the kind of thing you look for in new champions as opposed to the old ones, is the artists have gotten so much better at doing stuff with the model and the animation that makes them readable, that makes you look at them in game and go, okay, I know exactly what that is and what that does, and that's the thing to stay away from, and that's the thing that, okay, he's got an arm gun, he fires at me, all that stuff. Whereas older champion models, again, I'm gonna go to Cho'Gath, it's like, it's not really clear when you look at Cho'Gath how he does his damage.
Sure.
But with Urgot, it's like, no, that shotgun legs and arm gun, we know what's going on there.
And the meat grinder stomach.
Yeah, the meat grinder stomach. God,
Yeah.
that thing is horrifying.
There we go. There's the picture. I had to pull that up. I love it. I think I love everything about this so far. Riot has really knocked it out of the park with this Urgot remake.
Yeah, he's
Yes.
become a modern League of Legends champion.
All
Thank
right.
God.
God.
Can actually
For once,
say-
we don't shit on Riot about something. Now we can shit on Riot about.
Oh, we
But-
still have to talk about Kayn.
Yeah, let's talk about Kayn, the brooding, terrible 15-year-old that I
Anime
love.
character.
Yeah.
There he is, the anime character who I have zero because here's how this is, Riot. I'm gonna tell you, because of Kayn's character model and because of the way his backstory is, I have zero interest in ever touching this champion. I own the champion through IP, but I have zero interest in ever playing it.
Which makes me sad, because I agree thematically he is not interesting at all. But his kit I find very intriguing. He's able to do things that no other champion can do.
I mean, the one ability that he has, because everything else is kind of generic and boring.
I disagree, but we're not talking about the kit now, so I don't want to derail us. So we'll go back to the art.
Yeah, we got a splash art. We got good and evil and the scythe.
Well, good is debatable, perhaps, since
Evil
he's
and evil.
yeah, he's evil and eviler.
Right.
Is kind of what's going on. But yeah, Kayn is a champion I have some mixed feelings about, because I think Rast is a really fucking cool champion design. I think it's great to have another Darkin in the game. I think he looks
come on.
slick.
Darkin is the stupidest fucking thing that Riot has ever come up with.
What's wrong with
Sentient
Darkin?
weapons that take over people. It is so trope-ridden and just awful.
Oh yeah, as opposed to the rest of League of Legends, which is so original on every level.
No, I understand that it isn't, but it's not fun. It's like you okay. The fuck it. It's okay. The Frozen Throne did it really well, right? Blizzard did with the helmet, because somebody has to contain the power of the helmet that the Lich King wields, or else the entire fucking world gets blown up. What is the point of having sentient weapons in League of Legends if nothing happens if no one holds it? Something like that's what you need to keep my interest.
Some sort of ticking time clock, like if no one wields the scythe, the world will burn or whatever.
Or an army will be unleashed in hell with this or that, and you can only ever have one or two of those weapons, but we have 3 so far.
Oh yeah, Varus has been confirmed as one.
Right. Varus, Aatrox, and now Kayn.
Yeah.
But anyway,
with an
continue.
option, I
I'm
guess,
sorry.
to
I
find
just this champion appeals to me literally zero. I should probably just stay out of it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think Rast is a fantastic character design in terms of he's distinct from Aatrox, but clearly part of the same aesthetic. Like, all of that is great. And then there's the anime character Shadow Assassin, kind of, and his base model, where it's just kind of like, where is the anything on this guy? Like, there's really nothing there that says either that he's part of the League of Legends universe, at least not to me,
Sure.
or that really sets him apart as distinct. And the object of my greatest ire as a character designer is that he has the black hair with the single colored bang or like stripe of color in the hair, because that is the oldest fucking design trope for how to deal with black hair in a character design. Problem with black hair is that it tends to present a distinct surface. Like, black is very hard to vary unless you cut it with white, which can be annoying. So like, the thing that I think lazy artists grab for is just, let's put some colored streaks in the black hair instead of doing anything interesting with it. Just put some color in it instead of working with. And it's just one of my pet peeves. And
you know what this is? Skyen doing black with like, and they have a blue streak in their hair. Is that Tumblr Sonic bullshit, the hedgehog stuff that people make all the time?
And
it's like, reminds me of.
It's like every single, like, I'm gonna do air quotes, strong female character from Hollywood movies. It's the cool punk underground girl. Always, every time, like, it was in the Lego movie, it's in the fucking Emoji movie, and it's something they do over and over and over again. It's such an old, edgy trope that just doesn't do anything for me. Here they use blue to contrast with the red of Rast, and they kind of play up the blue gets more pronounced with the shadow assassin, but it's just it's not really interesting to me or creative. I don't really like his design at all very much.
Yeah, I was gonna say that like you just said, that bang of hair, it does have a minor purpose just to contrast that red eye that he's got, but I mean, they could have done that somewhere else.
Yeah. And he also doesn't look like he's supposed to be a member of the Shadow Assassins Sed's ninja group from Ionia, right? He's supposed to, but nothing about him looks anything like, he doesn't look like Ionian, particularly in his robe thing or whatever, and he's fucking topless for no adequate reason. And he doesn't look like a ninja, and he doesn't look like he belongs with the Sed faction. Like, there's none of the visual markers that should tie him to that faction are really present in him at all, which really bothers me, because then what the hell's the point of making him a part of Sed's faction and have him have a lore connection with Sed if you're not going to reinforce that in the character design at all? Even in his Shadow Assassin form, like, if he turns into a Shadow Assassin, he doesn't look more like a ninja at all. He doesn't look more like an assassin. He just gets even more topless and long hair, like he's
more anime.
Sephiroth or something. It's just a lot of things about Kayn. He's a cool concept, but the character design just doesn't really do anything for me. That's okay. I mean, I was just ranting about how much I don't like and I know what they were going for. Like, Riot were pretty explicit, and the people who I know, Daniel Klein, who's the champion designer behind me, I know they were going specifically for the edgy anime character. Like, that was very much what they wanted to do, and in that regard, they have succeeded. It's just my problem with it is I just don't feel like it fits into the League of Legends world, really. Which, too bad.
I agree entirely with you.
Happens.
I had no idea how he fit in until I actually skimmed through the backstory before the show. That's how he knows Zed. I knew he had a Zed voice line, but I had no idea what tied him to that. But everything else you said, I agree spot on. He definitely satisfies the goal of the duality, and how is it they described him when he was first teased? Imagine if you could play like an anime assassin and a demon as the same person, or something like that. That's how they pitched him. Well, I mean, that's it. This is him to a T.
Yeah, and I mean, the design concept that they started from was an idea of a character who switches forms depending on what you have them fight over the course of the game. Like, if you fight a bunch of tanks, he turns into the Darkin. If he fights a bunch of carries and ranged carries, he turns into the Shadow Assassin and becomes better at fighting each type. That's a really cool concept. Like, so you have to do something with two very distinct forms, and like as an execution on that, it's fine. It's just like, I look at that and I go, but you missed some bits. Like, they left so much. Like, I hate that he's topless. I think I get that it's supposed because he's sexy.
Yeah.
And but it's such a missed opportunity to give him, because again, if you want to show the duality of his nature, that he's slowly being consumed by this evil weapon, the thing I would have done is give him some completely torn clothing on the top of his body that's being ripped away by the encroaching corruption or something. Like, there are so many more opportunities to reflect his lore and what's going on with him in his character design that I think they just missed out on.
I will say the Darken. I will say that Darken weapon though is a very great way, and Pwn does disagree because he hates the Darken, but it's a great way to introduce this duality though. Like if you want a champion that can go one way or another, who has two personalities or so, that's fighting between this side and that side, then yeah, Darken's the perfect way to do that.
That's totally fine. Sentient weapons are fine, right? I have no problem with that happening. It happens everywhere, and in D&D and every RPG out there, we have a sentient weapon. I love the background. I love that that race is fighting between two different characters, regardless of how long that's been around forever. Internal struggle based on a weapon talking to you is a fun thing for people to use. But I agree with Skyen here in the fact that his base form when he's holding the weapon, where they're trying to blend the two together, is boring. But Raced is really cool looking. He's this crazy, demonic, horned devil, crazy looking character that has been completely possessed by this scythe. What I would have liked to seen more with this scythe is that his base character that he is, before he decides to pick his form, one is changed, however, just doesn't look like a triple anime character, but that the base scythe looks like completely and totally different from outside of when it transforms, right? Maybe it's not a scythe when it first starts. Maybe he first finds it as a staff, or maybe he first finds it as a sword or something, and then it transforms into a scythe when he's evil, and it transforms into a bow staff when he's... I'm just going to say good and evil because it's the easiest way for me to differentiate between blue and red. But if he's blue, maybe it's a bow staff because it's not quite as evil as a scythe. Right, but then when he goes to race, now it's just this crazy demonic looking scythe. Like, I think that would have been more fun and drawn me in rather than just being always a scythe. Like a demonic super evil weapon should be able to change its shape and change its appearance based on what it wants to do, because it's sentient and it has powers and it's able to talk to you, and that's what I want to see out of these weapons. And anytime anyone runs a D&D campaign, same thing. It needs to have a personality and use that personality to try to drive its narrative through the character that it's currently in the hands of.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other problem with his base form, is that Rast really doesn't have a presence. He's an eye on a scythe, but everything else is Kayn. And I mean, the irony is, I've been listening to their voice lines, and Rast has some fucking fantastic voice lines. He is sardonic, he's sarcastic, he's witty, he's funny, he's charming, he's interesting, and then Kayn is just over here like, I am an anime boy who's angsty about things. Which is like, every time Kayn speaks, I just want him to shut up and have more Rast. Which is kind of which is another thing where I really wish that they had played into it more, that Rast is the interesting, seductive one, and Kayn is kind of boring and plain, but Kayn keeps trying to fucking edgelord his way into being interesting and falls short. So the seduction theme isn't really there either, because you can either be a badass Darken murdering everyone, or you can be a badass Shadow Assassin murdering everyone. So it's kind of like there's not a lot of tension between those choices, because either way, you're still a cool badass. Like, and that's the problem, where Riot will always want to fulfill player fantasies, which is the thing of, you can't please everyone, but they have to try with this thing. Like, both forms have to be equally appealing.
Sure.
To some extent, you have to feel cool as a Shadow Assassin. To the same extent, you have to feel cool as the Darken. And that's like, then there's really no tension in the choice to me.
I wish
it would have been more
Riot
interesting if Shadow Assassin was kind of boring but safe.
I feel like they try to pander toward what they believe their current it's a marketing strategy, right? Like, your demographic is 16 to 25 year olds, and the target demographic likely watches anime and whatnot, so you release a character that appeases to the players who watch like League of Legends and the players who watch anime, which I'm sure is not an overwhelming majority, but there is a good chunk of players who love anime, and so that when you start designing toward that, they feel connected to this because they're connected to this other thing they watch. I just wish Riot wouldn't pander to these groups or pander to these internet not personalities, not memes,
Weebs.
but like I don't want to call them weebs. I just wish Riot wouldn't go, our group of people are like watch anime, let's make an anime character for them. When the reality is League of Legends is so wide and so gigantic and so out there that you don't need to just pander to this one group to make them happy. You could instead have gone a completely and totally different route and got rid of all the normal anime features with the what's he got, like a oval head, tiny little jaw. It's not sharp. It's not manly. He's got the long hair. He's got the brooding look, etc. I go on forever about all these stupid little things that I don't like, and I understand why people like them. Give me something else.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could have easily gone with an anime aesthetic. They should just have gone with a more interesting one. Because what they have here is sort of a very generic blending of anime design tropes with the League of Legends visual aesthetic. Whereas, like, if you were gonna go anime, then go harder on it. Like, go into it really. Instead
go
of
DBZ.
Because this is kind of a halfway point that doesn't really get anywhere, to me anyway. Like, if you were gonna give him anime hair, then give him proper anime, like spikes and shit. Like, make it fantastical, make it interesting. But, I mean, I would much have preferred that they just tied him properly to Ionia and to Zed and to the Shadow Assassins.
I have no problem. I have so few problems with this in turn. Not like that. Maybe it's not a good anime look, but like we just had a bunch of, I think, very good and unique champions come out with, like, what is it? That's the Xayah and Rakan were last, and then before that we had Camille and Ivern, right? Like, we've had some really good differentiation between these champions, and I'm so fine with them kind of, I think, taking the idea of how can we make a champion. We like, they started obviously not with the look of, we want to make somebody who's going to be like this sexy angsty dude. Instead they said, we want to do this idea of you have to change forms, but it changes middle of the game based on something you've done. How can we do that? And I'm so fine with them doing it this way, and especially when it leans back into another faction that we've seen so little of. It at least builds that lore up too, because it, like, Aatrox before, like Aatrox a while ago, you've been like, I don't know what the fuck he is. I guess he's this demon sword thing, and he's pretty bad except for like a couple seasons. But I don't know. I'm fine with it. I don't think it's not like super appealing, but I don't think it's bad.
I don't think they've been overly pandering to one group. Like you said, there's been a huge widespread of different characters that come from all different genres, all different themes. So I feel like, yeah, this one doesn't really appeal to us. Maybe it does appeal to the edgy anime crowd. Maybe they hate it too. I don't know, but it probably appeals to somebody. They're targeting somebody, and so long as you don't release 50 of these that are all targeting the same group with the same theme of sexy, edgy guys, then I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I know Riot wanted to do an anime-themed champion. They have wanted to for a long time. And that's fair enough. I don't really have a problem with, you take inspiration from anime, but just, there's so much missed opportunity for character design here, and it's like, if you're gonna go this way, go harder. Like, to me, it's just, the character's kind of a halfway character who never gets to an interesting place in either direction. That's my problem with him, is that, like, okay, but if you were gonna do this, then go hard.
Jump in the deep end and learn to swim.
Exactly, because that's where the interesting shit is. Like, it's not that much fun in the middle.
I was gonna say,
I think we're all arguing here. Skyen and I are Skyen, and my problem is the middle. It's not left or right, not good or evil, not blue or red. It's the middle. It's the waiting to transform. I think we both have a problem with.
Yeah.
Well, do you guys have a problem with, like, the fact that there are, like, splash arts for both the Shadow Assassin and the Darken one that you haven't pulled up? Like, does that make you guys feel a little bit better that those actually exist and are, like,
no, because I
very much...
like those designs of either of them. Like,
are they splash arts though? I mean, I thought that you used them as kind of as explanatory teaser things. I guess the
mean,
one
they
where
were
he's
login
charging at
pages.
Darius in one of them and waiting to murder Ash in the other one, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you're concerned about a halfway thing, this champion is the definition of halfway. Like, that's the point of him.
Well, the
It's-
point of them
it's
is
the
that you
execution.
go all the way in one direction or the other. And again, with the Dark and with Rast, I think they did a great job. But like Shadow Assassin Kayn, who's like the thing is, he's supposed to be the embodiment, the pinnacle of what an assassin of Sed's order is like. Like, what can they do? How do they look? How do they move? How do they behave? How do they feel? And when you look at the guy, in this splash art here, it's on his champion reveal page down at the bottom in the extras, Adam, if that's what you're looking for.
What
it is, it's some topless dude with leather pants and blue hair and blue glowing eyes and some tattoos. Which it doesn't, like, there's so much missed design space. There's so much missed opportunity to show him as the pinnacle of Sed's murderous assassination thing and the Ionian politics that go with his story. But it's empty. It's blank. It's too generic. And that's the problem with taking the anime aesthetic, is that if you want to have something, we're influenced by anime aesthetic, if you're not more specific, if you're not more careful about it, what you get is something that's just kind of generic, that looks like it could be in any anime instead of looking like it's something from a real, like a specific aesthetic or a specific story. Like, and that's the thing about Shadow Assassin, is like where we can see that the Rast form, like that's very much 100% League of Legends own darkened thing, however stupid you may think it is. Like, it's 100% that. Like, it fully exists within the context of that aesthetic. Whereas the Shadow Assassin thing exists within the context of generic aesthetic. It's just generic. Like, there's not missed opportunities.
I think that is the best way to leave it there with Kayn. We just drug Kayn through the mud for 20 minutes. And he comes out no worse for wear, really, because people are still going to play him.
Oh yeah,
regardless
he's going to
what
be
we
a
say.
popular, I'm sure.
He's getting better, and I like they did for those of you who are listening. We're not gonna go into like actual playstyle or anything, but a lot of people were saying, "Oh my god, he's a trash champion. Everyone's doing terrible on him." Like they mentioned in, I think it was one of the posts, like a red post today or yesterday, that like his win rate is improving as people are playing him, which we were talking about. Like that's what we thought. He's a difficult champion, but I'm happy to see that they're acknowledging, yeah, we were kind of expecting this, and we're glad to see that as people figure out how to play him, he's moving on up.
People fell over on their face with a seer for like ages when he first came out, so
Right.
no wonder.
It does take time. I still think there are some issues, but we'll talk about that at a later date. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just leave it there, because we put one champion up on a pedestal, we drug the other one through the mud, and didn't even give it third place. We told you, fuck you, go home, you're out first round, and that's that. So I guess if you want to go find Skyen, it's patreon.com/castercomics with an X.
Yeah, basically, or you can go to castercomics.com, and that's comics spelled with an X at the end instead of a C and an S, because I want to make things difficult.
He wants to be the
you can
brooding
see-
teenager.
Yeah, where you can see the comics I put up, mostly about League of Legends, esports, and the funny shit that comes into my mind.
And next week he's going to make a comic of him as Kayn. Well, Kayn's going to be there, and then Kayn's going to transfer into Skyen when he goes to the blue side. And then Skyen's going to yell about how awful this is. I just gave Skyen an idea. I know I did.
Or I
gonna
could
be
just
great.
come back on Trinity Force and yell about it for 4 more episodes. How about that, Adam?
Well, I'll probably have you back because Victor wants to come back and talk a little bit. I'd like to do a supplement episode, like a 0.5 episode with him. I emailed him in the middle of the show, and he apologized for not being here. So, yeah, go check out TV Sky and go support your creators, guys. Anything else, Sky? Anything big coming out for you?
Not especially. I mean, I'm trying to do more comics, so stay tuned to the website. There was a bit of a lull there for a while, but trying to get some more going, do some more for the LPL, and maybe for the LCK instead of just Europe all the time, which is what I'm used to doing. So read my shit. Follow me on Twitter, so I can yell at you there as well.
All right, friends, family, members of the community, thank you so much for supporting the Trinity Force Network through all of this. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We will be back next week with another episode of the Trinity Force podcast. Guys, we will see you then. Have a good evening. Peace.
See you guys.
Thanks for listening to our product and being a member of the Trinity Force Network community. If you have a moment, please head over to iTunes and give your favorite show a comment and a rating. If you're so inclined, you can check out all of the other great shows in the network. We've got a wide variety of content from League of Legends to general gaming and role-playing podcasts. If you'd like to follow us on social media, we can be found at Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit under T-Force Network. We've also got a Patreon under that name where you can support your favorite shows with a small donation each month. Thanks again for listening, and we hope you continue to enjoy all of our podcasts, videos, and the community that we've provided.